let's talk about a story that's way more than just about taxes. It's really about a fundamental shift in power in the digital world. This is the story of how India went from being seen as just a massive marketplace to a country that started writing the rules for the biggest tech companies on the planet.
Right, so here's the big question, the one we're really digging into today. How on earth did one country manage to stand up to the titans of technology, we're talking companies bigger than most national economies, and completely change the way they do business? It's a fascinating story. Let's get into it. To get why India did what it did, we have to start with the problem they were facing. And believe me, it was a big one. It all started with a massive billion-dollar loophole.
Okay, so what was the problem, really? Well, it boils down to something pretty simple but huge in scale. You had the world's largest tech companies making billions of dollars from hundreds of millions of Indian users. But almost none of that money was being taxed in India. And to really feel the weight of this, you just have to look at the numbers. All right, let's just run through these real quick. First up, you've got Google. Just from its operations in the Indian market, it was pulling in about 400 crore rupees in profit every single year. Next up, Amazon. And get this, we're not even talking profit here. This is just the sheer volume of business they were doing. A staggering 35,000 crore rupees. That is a colossal footprint in the country. And what about Apple? Well, even before they started making iPhones in India, the company was clearing over 1,000 crore rupees in profit from the region.
And we can't forget Meta. Between Facebook and Instagram, they were earning around 1,500 crore rupees. So you add all that up, and you're talking about an absolutely mind-boggling amount of money. The punchline? The tax revenue India was seeing from all this? Almost nothing. Crazy, right?
So India's looking at this situation, all this money just walking out the door, and they decided, nope, not anymore. It was time to stop being just a market and start being a rule maker. And that led to India's pretty innovative and, as you'll see, very controversial digital tax.
And their solution was this really clever new thing called the equalization levy. The idea is super straightforward, really. If a foreign digital company is making money from users in India, it has to pay a tax to India. It doesn't matter if they have a physical office there or not. If you earn here, you pay here. Now, this analogy is perfect for understanding it. Just think about it like this. Imagine a huge, shiny new store opens up on your street. It makes a fortune selling things to you and all your neighbors, but then turns around and says, yeah, we're not going to pay any local taxes for the roads or the streetlights or sanitation. That's basically the argument India was making about the digital world. And, this wasn't something they just came up with overnight. It was a calculated move. It started small back in 2016, and then in 2020, they expanded it in a big way to cover a whole lot more online services. This was a deliberate, thought-out strategy. So how did this actually work? What were the numbers? Well, they broke it down into two main parts. There was a 6% tax on all the money made from digital advertising, and then a 2% tax on other stuff, like sales on e-commerce sites and other digital services from these foreign companies. Pretty direct, right?
Okay, so you can probably guess what happened next. You don't just go and tax the biggest companies on the planet without a fight. This thing blew up into a massive global showdown.
And the response, especially from the US, where most of these giants are based, was, well, it was fast and it was furious. They immediately took the case to the World Trade Organization, arguing that India's tax was unfair, illegal, and was specifically designed to target American companies.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly, right? You had two completely opposite ways of looking at this. For the US, it was a discriminatory trade barrier, plain and simple. But from India's point of view, it was like, hang on, this isn't an attack. This is about basic fairness. If you profit from our people, you pay tax in our country. But this is where the story gets really good. This is the moment everything changed. Did India back down? Did they get intimidated? Absolutely not. Instead, they basically said, you want to apply pressure? Fine, we'll just raise the tax. This was a clear message. We're not backing down. This was a line in the sand. And that move, that refusal to back down, it had a huge, almost immediate impact. It forced these massive companies to completely rethink their entire strategy for India. The game had officially changed. All of a sudden, things started to change, and fast. You had Apple, which for years just sold phones in India, now starting to actually make them there.
You had Amazon pouring money into local warehouses and delivery networks, and Meta, well, they started making plans for huge data centers right there on Indian soil. They were forced to invest locally. And this story, it didn't just stay in India. It went global. It was like a ripple effect. Other major countries like France, Italy, Australia, and the UK were watching. They saw that it could be done, and they followed India's lead, bringing in their own digital taxes. India had basically shown them the way. Okay, so this is all fascinating stuff. Global tax wars, corporate strategy, but what does it actually mean for you? For me, why should we care about all this? Well, the impact is actually way more direct than you'd think. First off, that tax money, that goes into building stuff we all use, like better roads and schools. Then you've got the jobs, thousands of them, from all those new investments in factories and warehouses. And what about our data? Storing it locally in new data centers makes our digital lives more secure. And all of it, ties back to this one really powerful idea, digital sovereignty. It means India gets to control its own digital destiny. And just to put all of this into perspective, let's remember the sheer scale we're dealing with here. Over 70 crore people online in India right now, and that's expected to hit 100 crore. That's 1 billion people really soon. We're not just talking about a market anymore. We're talking about a digital nation. And the rules for that nation are now, finally, being written at home. Which really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. For a long, long time, the rules of the global economy were written by just a handful of powerful countries. But India's story changes that. It makes us all stop and ask, in this new digital world we're all living in, who gets to write the rules now?